Somewhere in your memory is a whale on a screen. Enormous, slow, scored like a lullaby. You felt wonder, not fear. That feeling is the problem. The sperm whale on the classroom poster isn't the animal that actually runs the deep. Strip the orchestral music and the gift shop plush, and what remains is the largest toothed predator ever built. A living, deep-rayed system of extreme mass, crushing depth hunting, gunshot-loud clicks, and social defense that daily takes on monsters other hunters never reach, and forces even orcas into unusual caution. This isn't a story about a man-eater under your bed. It's the story of why the ocean's true heavyweight earns fearful respect for what it can do in the dark. The peaceful floating cloud whale, enormous, benign, drifting through blue light while strings swell on the soundtrack, fits other animals far better than this one. Blue whales are filter feeders. Humpbacks are filter feeders. They open enormous mouths and strain the sea. Sperm whales do something categorically different. They locate individual prey in total darkness, chase it down, and kill it with their bodies. The Academy literature describes them as social mega-predators who form stable matrilineal units. NOAA Fisheries identifies them plainly as the largest toothed predators to have ever lived. Neither description requires orchestral accompaniment. Both describe a working animal whose daily routine is hunting in a place where light dies and pressure would crush a submarine hull. The gentle giant framing belongs to the sunlit layer. The sperm whale belongs to what lies beneath it. Start with the body, because the body is the argument. Mature males average around 16 meters in length, roughly 52 feet, with larger individuals documented in the 18 to 19 meter range and rare historical records reaching beyond 20 meters. A male measuring 18 meters has been estimated at approximately 57 metric tons. The more commonly cited central figure for large adult males sits around 45 tons. Either way, the mass is staggering. A fully grown bull weighs roughly 3 times as much as an adult female of the same species, which is already a 15-ton animal, 11 to 13 meters long. Males continue growing well into their 30s and don't reach full physical maturity until around 50 years of age, an extended secondary growth phase that keeps adding mass long after females have plateaued. That prolonged investment in size isn't accidental. It builds a body capable of surviving what this animal does for a living. The head alone accounts for up to 1/3 of total body length. In large males, the nasal complex inside that head, the spermaceti organ, the junk, the air sac system, can weigh several tons. This isn't fat or ballast for its own sake. It's acoustic infrastructure. The biological hardware that makes this animal the most powerful sound-producing creature ever described. Inside that head sits the largest brain of any living animal by most measures. Studies of sperm whale brain mass report figures in the range of 7.8 to 9.2 kilograms, roughly 17 to 20 pounds, more than 5 times heavier than a human brain. A 2014 neuroanatomy study by Ridgway and Hansen, examining preserved specimens, documented that large male sperm whales and large male killer whales share the distinction of the heaviest known brains among all toothed whales, with the largest sperm whale brain in their dataset reaching approximately 9,200 grams. A brain that size, in an animal hunting prey in total darkness at pressures that would collapse most air pockets, isn't ornamental. It processes a constant stream of acoustic information from a sonar system with no equivalent in nature. That sonar system is the predator's true weapon. But before reaching the mechanics of sound, there is the question of depth, because the weapon only matters if the animal can reach the pantry it was built to access. Sperm whales routinely forage at depths between 400 and 1,200 meters. Tag studies, including Watwood and colleagues' 2006 work published in the Journal of Animal Ecology, documented female and immature sperm whales actively searching at those depths during normal foraging dives. The Alaska Department of Fish and Game describes typical foraging dives as reaching depths of around 600 meters and lasting up to 45 minutes, with surface intervals of 5 to 15 minutes. Occasional dives approach 2,000 to 2,250 meters, roughly a mile and a half straight down. Reported breath holds extend to around 138 minutes in some historical physiology records, though the most commonly cited figure from multiple institutional sources is around 2 hours. Even conservative figures place routine sperm whale dives well beyond what most air-breathing predators can physically attempt. The Cuvier's beaked whale holds the current confirmed mammalian records. A 2014 PLOS-1 study by Shaw and colleagues documented a tagged Cuvier's reaching 2,992 meters and holding its breath for 137.5 minutes. So sperm whales aren't the absolute record holders, but they are extraordinary by any other comparison. Blue whales, the largest animals on Earth, have been tagged diving to around 315 meters in typical feeding runs, with dives lasting roughly 10 to 15 minutes. Their theoretical aerobic dive limit sits at about 31 minutes. The sperm whale's routine foraging commute covers depths the blue whale can't physically reach. The abyss isn't a place either animal visits. It's the sperm whale's daily workplace, and the blue whale can't get a badge. Below 200 meters, sunlight fails completely. By 400 meters, the ocean is absolute black. By 1,000 meters, water pressure exceeds 100 atmospheres. The animals that live down there evolved in a world without light, without the surface predator hierarchies that dominate shallower water, and without many of the physiological limits that govern air-breathing life. They are, in general, large, strange, and not easy to kill. The sperm whale goes there every day. The body manages this through a set of physiological adaptations that read like engineering. Ribs connected to the spine by flexible cartilage, documented in Wikipedia's Sperm Whale Anatomy section, allow the ribcage to partially collapse under pressure rather than crack. Myoglobin concentrations in the muscles are high enough to store substantial oxygen in the tissue itself. Heart rate slows during dives to reduce consumption. The lungs can collapse at depth. These aren't minor tweaks. They are a complete redesign of a mammal's relationship with pressure and oxygen, tuned specifically for deep, sustained predatory work. What the sperm whale is doing down there is hunting. The diet evidence, assembled from stomach content studies across multiple ocean regions, is dominated by cephalopods, squid primarily, in variety and enormous volume. In warmer waters, squid can make up the overwhelming majority of the diet. In higher latitudes, the prey list broadens to include large deep-water fish, sharks, and skates. In Norwegian stranded animals, researchers identified Atlantic cod, anglerfish, and cartilaginous fish. Off Oregon, one study of 17 stomach samples recovered 20,247 lower squid beaks, representing 24 species. But the animals that matter most in terms of sheer biological mass are the two largest squid species on Earth. Giant squid, Architeuthis dux, are confirmed sperm whale prey, their beaks commonly recovered from stranded animals worldwide. In Southern Ocean stomach studies, giant squid contributed roughly 15% of total prey biomass, despite being numerically rare. Each individual is simply enormous. Colossal squid, Messonychoteuthis hamiltoni, is energetically dominant in Antarctic sperm whale diets. One Southern Ocean study found colossal squid representing 14% of beak numbers, but an estimated 77% of total prey biomass. In another, the figure was 52% by mass. These aren't the animals the whale eats between meals. They are the point of the dive. Colossal squid aren't passive. They possess large, swiveling hooks on their tentacular clubs. Not suckers, but rotating, bladed hooks, designed by evolution for exactly the kind of encounter a sperm whale initiates. Giant squid have never been directly observed fighting a sperm whale. The battles happen in total darkness, beyond the reach of any camera. What researchers have instead are the receipts. Nearly every adult sperm whale examined carries circular white scars on its head and anterior body. The Smithsonian Ocean Portal notes that older individuals have accumulated so many of these marks that they overlap. A Tasmanian stranding study found scarring consistent with squid-sucker contact in a substantial proportion of animals examined. The scars are 1.7 to 11.5 centimeters in diameter in documented samples, some larger, representing sucker rings pressed hard enough into blubber to leave permanent marks that survive for decades. These aren't superficial grazes. They are the accumulated record of thousands of dark water confrontations embedded in skin. The stomach tells the same story from a different angle. Squid beaks, the chitinous, indigestible mandibles left behind after the soft body is digested, accumulate in sperm whale stomachs over time. M.R. Clarke's foundational 1980 work on beak count methodology established that individual whales carry thousands of beaks representing dozens of squid taxa. A 2018 stranding study of North Sea sperm whales reported one French individual with nearly 33,000 lower beaks in its stomach, corresponding to an estimated 5,700 kilograms of reconstructed prey mass. The same study recovered 55,150 beaks from 13 German stranded whales. Clarke himself had earlier reported more than 18,000 beaks in a single stomach from earlier studies. A stomach full of squid beaks isn't a curiosity, it's a ledger. Every beak is a hunt. The mechanics of feeding at depth are inferred from anatomy and stomach contents together. Sperm whale teeth are present only in the lower jaw and fit into sockets in the upper jaw, rather than interlocking with upper teeth in a standard biting arrangement. Well-fed animals have been found with deformed jaws, or no teeth at all, suggesting teeth aren't essential for prey capture. The dominant mechanism appears to be suction. The animal draws prey into the mouth rather than biting it apart. This explains the intact beak recovery. If squid were chewed, the beaks would fracture. Recovered whole, they indicate animals swallowed essentially entire. The lower jaw drops, the throat expands, and suction does the work. But the squid has to be found first. The mesopelagic and bathypelagic zones, the layers sperm whales work, aren't simply dark. They are volumetrically vast and structurally featureless to any visual sense. Hunting by sight there isn't possible. Hunting by smell, as a mammal might, provides no useful resolution at the relevant distances. The sperm whale solves this problem with an acoustic system so far beyond any other biological sound source that it constitutes its own category. The physics of the system were first modeled by Kenneth Norris and George Harvey in a 1972 paper published in a NASA-compiled volume on animal orientation and navigation. Their bent horn model proposed that a single click originates at a structure called the museau du singe, French for monkey's muzzle, a pair of thick valvular lips located at the rostral end of the right nasal passage at the front of the spermaceti organ. Pressurized air is driven through these lips, creating an initial acoustic pulse. That pulse travels backward through the spermaceti organ, a large, wax-filled, barrel-shaped structure sitting above the upper jaw, reflects off a posterior air sac called the frontal sac, reverberates between the frontal sac and the distal sac at the front, and in the process acquires the characteristic multi-pulse structure of a sperm whale click. The sound then passes forward through the junk, a compartmentalized structure below the spermaceti organ, subdivided into roughly 20 lens-shaped sections filled with spermaceti-rich oil, which focuses and collimates the acoustic energy into a narrow, highly directional beam that exits the front of the head and propagates into the water. This isn't a description of a nose. It's a description of an acoustic weapon system contained inside an animal's forehead. In December 1997, a bull sperm whale stranded at Roma in Denmark's Wadden Sea. Bertel Merle of the University of Aarhus, arrived within an hour of one animal being observed alive, and for 8 minutes, his team injected frequency-modulated sound pulses directly into the spermaceti complex of the dead bull through its skin while submerged. The recordings showed a repetitive, decaying reflection pattern produced by the reverberation of sound bouncing between the air sacs. The pattern matched the multi-pulse structure of live sperm whale clicks. Merle's 2001 paper in the Journal of Comparative Physiology A confirmed what the 1972 model had proposed. The spermaceti organ functions as the acoustic delay line, shaping the temporal structure of each click, and the junk transmits sound and acts as the forward radiating element. The paper stated directly that this was the first physiological demonstration of the Norris and Harvey concept of sound generation in the sperm whale. Subsequent measurements put numbers to what that system produces. Merle and colleagues, publishing in the Journal of the Acoustical Society of America in 2003, reported on-axis source levels for sperm whale clicks of up to 236 dB re 1 micropascal, a measure of underwater acoustic pressure referenced to 1 micropascal at 1 meter. The paper described these as by far the loudest of sounds recorded from any biological source. A 2024 paper by Jacobs and colleagues in the Journal of Experimental Biology, studying sperm whales off Dominica, confirmed that echolocation click source levels exceed 230 dB re 1 micropascal, citing Merle et al.'s 2003 directionality index of 27 dB. Earlier array measurements off Andenes, Norway, reported maximum levels of 223 dB re 1 micropascal, with source level differences of 35 dB for the same click measured in different directions. The directionality index of approximately 27 dB means the on-axis beam is roughly 500 times more intense than a hypothetical omnidirectional radiator putting out the same total acoustic power. Beam width for on-axis clicks is estimated on the order of 10 degrees. The head does not radiate sound in all directions. It fires a focused acoustic spotlight into the dark. Comparing underwater decibels to anything familiar requires care, because the reference pressures differ between water and air, and direct numerical conversion misleads. What can be said accurately is that peer-reviewed measurements place sperm whale echolocation clicks in a class by themselves among documented biological sounds, substantially above anything produced by dolphins, bats, or any other echolocating animal. The gunshot or jet engine comparisons circulating in popular media require medium conversion caveats. The scientific literature doesn't need the comparison. The number stands alone. The beam scans the void ahead of the animal and returns echoes that the brain, that 8-kilogram processing organ, translates into three-dimensional spatial information. During long-range search, sperm whales produce what researchers call usual clicks at regular intervals, building a picture of the water column ahead. Tag studies, including work by Fays and colleagues, published in Scientific Reports in 2016, show that as the whale closes within approximately 1 body length of prey, click rate increases dramatically, and the interclick interval collapses into a rapid terminal buzz, the same acoustic transition that echolocating bats use during final approach. Critically, during this terminal buzz phase, the whale reduces estimated source levels by 20 to 40 decibels below maximum. It doesn't blast the prey harder at close range. It turns down the volume and applies precision. This directly refutes the idea, once formally proposed and still occasionally repeated, that sperm whales stun or debilitate prey with their clicks. In 1983, Norris and Merle published a paper titled "Can Odontocetes Debilitate Prey with Sound?" in the American Naturalist, suggesting theoretically that intense, focused clicks might physically immobilize soft-bodied prey. The proposal was based on extrapolation from bottlenose dolphin sound pressures, not direct measurement of sperm whale prey interactions. The theoretical level they proposed, around 265 decibels, has never been empirically recorded from any sperm whale. Modern field data moves in the opposite direction. Faye et al.'s 2016 paper in Scientific Reports concluded explicitly that received levels at the prey are below levels required for debilitation, precluding acoustic stunning to facilitate prey capture. The sperm whale hunts with echolocation and suction, not sonic shock. The prey stunning idea is a historical hypothesis, unsupported by current evidence. What the sonar does is hunt. In deep, featureless water with no light and no visual reference, the animal builds a navigable map from sound, identifies individual prey items at range, tracks their movement, and executes a pursuit that ends with suction feeding. Every dive is the same sequence: descent into darkness, active acoustic scanning, target acquisition, approach, terminal buzz, catch. The beaks in the stomach are the receipts for 10,000 iterations of that sequence. The annual scale of this hunting operation is difficult to fully absorb. Working from M.R. Clarke's 1977 published estimates based on population assumptions and consumption rate modeling, researchers have estimated that the global sperm whale population consumes on the order of over 110 million metric tons of cephalopods per year. A 1980 review by Kawakami cited Clarke's figure and extended the maximum possible estimate to 320 million tons under different assumptions. The FAO reported global wild marine capture fisheries producing approximately 74 to 83 million tons of finfish annually in recent years, with total fisheries and aquaculture production around 223 million tons. The comparison: sperm whales eating a modeled quantity of cephalopods comparable to or exceeding the entire human wild marine catch, depends on population estimates that have changed substantially since whaling reduced the species from a pre-whaling estimated 2 million animals to today's population of approximately 736,000 to 845,000 per Whitehead and colleagues' 2022 assessment. The estimate is a model with significant uncertainty, but the directional statement holds. The global sperm whale population represents a predatory footprint on the deep ocean that dwarfs anything on the surface. Orca are apex predators. This needs to be stated plainly before anything else, because the sperm whale chapter of natural history does not require diminishing the animals that are perhaps the most behaviorally sophisticated hunters on Earth. Killer whales take harbor seals, great white sharks, bluefin tuna, sea turtles, and giant baleen whales. Pittman and colleagues' 2023 work documented fatal orca attacks on fin whales off Baja, California. Superpods have been documented killing blue whales. Orcas hunt in coordinated groups, use learned tactics passed between generations, and have been observed targeting specific anatomical features of prey to maximize energy return and minimize risk. They are unambiguously among the planet's most capable predators. And yet, when orcas encounter adult sperm whales, something different happens. In October 1997, approximately 35 killer whales were observed attacking a pod of 9 sperm whales roughly 130 kilometers off Central California. Robert Pittman and colleagues from NOAA documented the encounter over 4 hours and published it in Marine Mammal Science in 2001. The orca group included adult females that led repeated attacks, targeting one adult female sperm whale that was ultimately killed. What the researchers also documented was the sperm whale pod's response. The whales formed a tight circular arrangement, with their heads facing inward and their massive flukes pointing outward. This configuration, described in the literature as a marguerite formation, after the flower whose petals radiate from the center, placed the pod's most powerful appendages facing outward and their most vulnerable surfaces facing the protected interior, where calves were sheltered. Hal Whitehead, whose multi-decade field studies of sperm whale social structure began in 1985 in the Galapagos, has documented the social architecture that makes this formation possible. Female sperm whale social units consist of approximately 6 to 12 females and their young, living in stable groups with long-term bonds maintained over years and decades. Gero and colleagues' 2015 work on individualized social preferences found that preferred associations between social units persist over multi-year periods. These aren't temporary aggregations. They are durable social structures with established relationships, coordinated behavior, and what appears to be collective threat assessment. When an orca pod arrives, the marguerite isn't a panicked accident. It's a practiced response by animals that know each other well. The formation also channels the pod's primary defensive asset toward the threat. A large adult sperm whale's flukes span several meters across and are driven by the most powerful tail musculature of any toothed whale. A direct fluke strike from an animal weighing 15 to 45 tons carries kinetic energy that makes the risk calculation complex for any predator, including one as capable as an orca. Orca pods have been observed targeting calves, injured animals, and isolates, categories where the injury economics favor attack. Against healthy adults in a defensive formation, the calculation shifts. Dense blubber absorbs biting forces. The depth escape option is always available. A sperm whale that dives can reach depths and duration targets beyond any orca pursuit. And the group tail-out formation turns a flight response into a holding action that raises the cost of attack without requiring any individual to expose itself. None of this means orcas can't kill sperm whales. The 1997 California encounter ended with one adult female sperm whale dead. Other documented encounters exist. The point isn't that orca are incapable. It's that adult sperm whales are treated by orca as a materially different problem than almost anything else they hunt, requiring larger group effort, prolonged engagement, tactical focus on vulnerable subcategories, and in many cases, a cost-benefit result that favors moving on. Whitehead's multi-ocean social structure research suggests that in regions where orca predation pressure is higher, sperm whale social grouping behavior intensifies. Protection against predation appears to be a driving factor in the evolution of the species' multi-unit social structure. The defensive formation is only possible because the social bonds are real. Animals that didn't know each other, didn't coordinate, and didn't have multi-year relationship histories don't hold a marguerite under attack. The formation is a product of the same social intelligence that the 8-kilogram brain presumably supports, an architecture of collective defense built from individual trust. In November of 1820, a whale ship called Essex was hunting sperm whales approximately 1,000 miles west of the Galapagos Islands in the South Pacific. First mate Owen Chase's account, published the following year as a narrative of the disaster, describes the lookout spotting a large bull acting strangely, lying motionless on the surface facing the ship, then beginning to approach. The bull struck the ship twice. The first blow rocked Essex from side to side. The second, delivered at what Chase described as twice his ordinary speed, crushed the bow and drove the vessel backward. Essex sank by the bow. 20 men abandoned ship in 3 whaleboats, 2,000 nautical miles from the coast of South America. After months at sea, including starvation, exposure, and the consumption of the dead, 8 survived. The account became one of the most documented maritime disasters in American history, and Herman Melville drew on it directly when writing Moby Dick. The ship itself was only 88 feet long, and the 95% range for recorded sperm whales falls below 15.85 meters. What is documented is the outcome: a wooden vessel sunk by a whale striking it twice. The probable cause, proposed by Nathaniel Philbrick in his synthesis of the event, is that the sound of hammering on the damaged whaleboat may have resembled orca echolocation or competitive male clicks, triggering a defensive or aggressive charge. Whether the interpretation is correct, the physical consequence isn't in dispute. A massive toothed animal at speed carries momentum that a wooden ship couldn't absorb. The crew floated in 3 whaleboats afterward. The whale didn't return. In the recorded history of wild sperm whale encounters with humans, there is no documented case of a sperm whale actively hunting a human being. Not from the Essex aftermath. Not from any other documented encounter. Modern divers and underwater photographers who have spent time near sperm whales describe careful spatial awareness from the animals, deliberate adjustment of position, soft investigative clicks, and what appears to be curious scrutiny. The 2024 Jacobs paper notes that coda clicks used in social communication have median source levels around 161 decibels, far below echolocation click intensities, and that these function primarily for intra-unit social cohesion. The animal investigating a diver is doing something acoustically gentle by its own standards. A human body in the water reads poorly on sperm whale biosonar. Air-filled spaces, lungs, sinuses, return strong echoes at relevant frequencies. The animal that hunts by processing acoustic returns from squid bodies in absolute darkness can certainly detect a human swimmer. That it consistently does not treat human swimmers as prey is an observed fact. It shouldn't be dressed up as deliberate moral restraint or saintly forbearance. It appears to be a matter of what the animal's hunting template recognizes as food, combined with the physical reality that a diver without a submarine suit can't follow a sperm whale to its working depths. The interaction happens in the sperm whale's travel layer, not its pantry. And in the travel layer, humans are apparently objects of curiosity rather than hunger. Close water near a sperm whale is still physically dangerous. A 45-ton animal in motion carries momentum that requires no hostile intent to cause injury. The appropriate posture is spectator, not participant. The frightening part of the sperm whale isn't a monster climbing toward the surface. It's the hierarchy these bodies and tactics impose on the ocean that lies below the sunlit layer. An animal described as the largest living toothed predator, over 16 meters and 45 tons on average, reported larger in exceptional individuals, descends every day past the limits of every other air-breathing hunter on Earth into a zone of crushing pressure and absolute darkness, and there hunts the largest invertebrates alive. Its head is a focused acoustic instrument, producing the most intense biological sounds ever measured, reported at peak on-axis levels in excess of 230 decibels underwater. Its stomach accumulates the beaks of tens of thousands of animals it has killed over a lifetime. The scars on its skin are a permanent record of every fight it survived. Its social units form coordinated defensive walls when threatened, and those walls raise the injury cost of attacking even for the most sophisticated pack hunters in the ocean. This animal can ram and sink a wooden ship. Its crew floated abandoned in the Pacific, and the whale swam away. That isn't a paradox, it's a profile. A deep raid predator that daily contests resisting giants in total darkness, holds the abyss as its operational territory, and forces even orca into unusual caution when fully healthy and in formation. The same animal has no apparent interest in hunting a mammal it could theoretically destroy. The peaceful poster whale was the wrong image. The real one earns fearful respect for what it does in the dark, and earns something else too from anyone who has actually spent time thinking about it. The conviction that an ocean still containing this animal is a richer and stranger place than the one the documentaries suggest.